welcome to the Jedi Lab. Today we are going to make some herbal medicine. You want to join us? We've got St. John's wort on the drying rack. We're going to learn how to make an oil and a tincture with this amazing plant. These ones I just picked this morning, and they're going to dry out for a few days before oil, whereas these ones have been drying for 2 or 3 days now, so they're ready to turn into an oil. The reason why we want to make an oil with slightly wilted flowers is because the more water in them, the oil will soak up that moisture and go rancid. We're also going to make sure that we put a nice screen or mesh over top so that any evaporation can happen and we lose some of that moisture in it. We'll make sure this stays warm, either putting it directly in the sun or in a cardboard box or paper bag in the heat of a window. Some of the St. John's wort is going to be made into a tincture, so we're going to take a bit of that out. You know the fragrance of this? Totally intoxicating. Ooh. This is one of the medicines that makes me the happiest. Just connecting with it, playing with it, picking it. I'm slightly addicted to it. Every time St. John's wort season comes along, I'm like, oh yeah! That should be enough to make our tincture. Let's go take it outside and see how this is done. When it comes to herbal pharmacy, it's important to know what the chemical constituents are in the herb so that you know how to extract it best. In this case, most liquids we call menstruums, and the herb we end up calling a mark. So we're going to use the St. John's wort mark and various different menstruums to extract it. Now we know that water is not going to extract a lot of the chemistry in it because it's got things like alkaloids, essential oils, and saponin type groups. So some of the flavonoids and the tannins will extract in water, and we can make a tea with St. John's wort. In this case, what we're going to want to do is make an alcohol extract and an oil extract. So to start with, we're going to make a tincture. To do this, we want to use alcohol. In this case, I have a big jug of our organic cane alcohol, you can see, and I've got some spring water from just down island. Now, you want to use the best water you got, so just try to pick what that is, and don't be worried if all you got is distilled water or tap water, you're still gonna make awesome medicine. So for most fresh tinctures, we wanna make a 1 to 2 or a 1 to 3, which means 1 gram of the herb to 2 or 3 milliliters of the liquid. In this case, since we have a flower that's pretty fluffy, we're gonna try to make a 1 to 3 so that we cover the whole thing in alcohol, which means for every 1 gram, we're gonna make 3 milliliters of the liquid. So if we're making a 1 to 3 and we've got 488 grams of our herb matter, we're gonna need to use 1,464 milliliters of liquid. And since we're gonna make that in a 75%, we're gonna use 3/4 of that of alcohol and 1/4 of that of water, which means we're gonna need approximately 1,098 mils of alcohol to 366 mils of water. Now let's use our very accurate kitchen table measuring thing and get something roughly around that and not be too concerned if it's exact. We got 366 approximately, and to that we're gonna add our 1,098 mils of alcohol. Now, something amazing is about to happen. St. John's blood is about to form, and this tincture will become bright red in about 2 to 5 minutes. Are you ready to check this out? It's like magic. Now we're gonna put a lid on and shake this up. It's already turning bright red. That's pretty wild. If you find it's looking like this where you don't have it full of alcohol, we might even go to a 1 to 4 next time. Or we might just press this down like so. Make sure it's all in the alcohol. We'll let that sit for 2 weeks to a month, and then we'll filter it off, and voila, we'll have a potent St. John's wort tincture. Oh, that's looking good already. All right, now it's time to make St. John's wort oil. Oil macerations are just as simple, if not simpler, than making tinctures, in the sense that with this, the accuracy is not so important. All that's really important is that we cover the whole herb with oil so we don't have any sticking out. If some sticking out, it's most likely gonna go rancid or moldy, so we wanna be careful. I'm gonna use a smaller jar than this, because this is all I have of wilted flowers. These are about 2 to 3 days wilted, and we're just gonna pack them into this jar nice and lightly. The wilting helps pull a little bit of that water out, but because they're still fresh, we know that there's gonna be more water to come out. So we're gonna stick them in a warm place and let that evaporate out. Now we can use whatever oil we have, but I like to use an organic olive oil because it's easy to get, readily accessible, and quite stable. So almond oil might be a choice, grapeseed oil, or coconut oil. But in this climate, olive oil is the best. I roll with a pretty big jug of olive oil. You won't be finding these size at Costco. We're just gonna cover the whole herb. It's hard to put too much in. All you really need to do is make sure that you're covering the surface of the herb. Now, I'm gonna have to check this every day, and pretty soon it's gonna start to go a nice bright red color. But in order to help it do that, I wanna make sure it gets a little bit of heat, which means putting it in a window in a nice warm place, maybe on top of the fridge, or in a cardboard box or paper bag outside in the direct sunlight. We don't really wanna get too much direct sunlight on it, but we can use a little shade around it. Now that our St. John's wort oil is macerating, we're gonna let this sit for about 2 weeks, and we wanna make sure that any moisture that's in there is gonna be able to evaporate out. So we'll take some kind of nylon cloth or mesh or sprouting cloth, and we'll place it over the jar instead of a lid. We'll just screw this on, so this way it can breathe. Once it's macerated for a few weeks and we strain it off, we're gonna end up with an oil like this, bright red, blood of St. John's once more. We can make this into a salve and put it on all kinds of skin inflammation, pain, nervous tension, cuts, scrapes, burns, even like acne or psoriasis. There's a whole plethora of things you can do with it. Once you're all finished and you've filtered off that oil, you may want to put it in a dark, cool, and oxygen-free place. And you also might want to add a little bit of vitamin E oil to it, just to help preserve it. If you don't have this, no big deal. It just might not last quite as long. Also make sure you got a good lid on it and you got a good label so you know what it is when you come to find it later. To find out more about St. John's wort, how to harvest it, identify it, and some of the medicinal properties, check out our other video here where we have lots more to share about this people's medicine.